My name is Cheryl Jekyll, and I'm the CEO of Lean Leadership Center. I have the privilege and honor of introducing Michael Lombard. Michael is currently a regional or managing director for KaiSei Permanente, and he has over 10 plus years of healthcare transformation. One of the things I did to learn a bit about Michael was I listened to a podcast on Gemba Academy called Strive to Thrive. So after hearing him today, I'd encourage any of you that might want to listen to that podcast.
Hey everybody, it is so great to be here. It's so awesome to see some familiar faces, people that I consider very close friends here. But I'm equally as excited about all the new faces here, the first-time folks that are here for the first time. I hope you keep coming back. And in one example, there's actually somebody here who's one of my oldest mentors and a very close friend, but it's also his first time here. So Scott McDuffie, if you could please stand up, sir. Give Scott a hand, everybody. I just want to reinforce this behavior of coming to Kata Summit, so keep coming, man. So I'm really excited to be talking about what we're learning, three sort of weird things that we're seeing out there in the world with Kata. And I say sort of weird because you've seen these shirts around town, these Keep Austin Weird tie-dye shirts or whatever. But are we really sure that Austin is weird? I don't know. Maybe it was a little weirder before, but to me it's kind of like quirky and fun and just kind of cool. That's how I kind of see Austin. And I actually kind of feel the same way about Kata. I think there's a parallel there. I think years back when we first started the Kata Summit, some folks were kind of giving us the side eye, like, oh, that's kind of weird that you're talking about behaviors and not the outcomes, and you're talking about getting practice reps, and that's kind of weird. But I think it's more quirky and kind of fun and cool now. I think that's kind of where we're trending. And so I wanted to give a few examples of that kind of behavior that we're seeing, that pattern of kind of quirky, cool stuff. So the first one is Kata in cognitive sciences. So I got to spend some time as definitely a fish out of water at UCLA with the psychology department in their teaching and learning lab. And we see on the picture, here are some professors of psychology, true subject matter experts when it comes to learning processes and teaching processes. And I had no idea half of the jargon that they were using, but I got a chance to come in and practice a little Kata with them. Why were they practicing Kata? So they had a startup. They had basically created a non-for-profit tech startup focused on, it was basically a statistics online course or textbook. And they were using Kata. They wanted to actually expand this because they were getting a lot of demand from high school teachers, college professors, because it's a free open source thing. They were getting a lot of demand for people wanting to get on their platform, but they didn't have the business processes to be able to spread. And so we used Kata to develop their daily management process. But in the course of developing understanding their direction and their challenge, they came up with this image, kind of this platform where researchers and designers and instructors could all collaborate to improve how we teach statistics, to make it more accessible for people. That was a cool kind of vision where they wanted to head. Their challenge was to get their minimum viable product up and online and in use. And they achieved it, and what they did, they actually call it Course Kata. It's coursekata.org. So this is the quirky, cool, kind of weird thing that I wanted to actually emphasize. Because not only were they using Kata to help build their business and kind of grow it out, but they had actually taken the principles underlying Kata that Billy talked about this morning, scientific thinking, deliberate practice, and they created a new Kata, Course Kata. They created a way of teaching, in this case, statistics, in a way that it takes the principles of scientific thinking and deliberate practice directly to the student. So, for example, when a student's doing an exercise to learn about standard deviations or whatever in statistics, they can actually measure that in real time, get process measures instantly about how long is it taking the student. Let's try A versus B. Which version is giving the easiest acquisition of the knowledge? It's pretty cool. So it's kind of a two-way street. They're using Kata to develop this, but they're also, the principles of Kata are in the product itself. So I thought it was kind of cool and quirky. Second example, Kata in medical education. So I mentioned I was a fish out of water at UCLA, but I was really a fish out of water when I went to this medical school conference up in Vancouver. And these are three doctors that I'm with who are also teachers. They teach medical students. They teach residents, the doctors of the future. And their jargon and terminology is way beyond me. I was really kind of lost, and I wasn't exactly sure what we were trying to accomplish there. But they said, rest assured, we kind of have a vision for how Kata can support our efforts to develop new physicians. And so I said, you're going to have to lay it out for me. I need to see it. And so they said, well, look, imagine that the learner is the medical student, the resident, whoever, a new doctor, and they're trying to acquire a new clinical skill, let's say doing differential diagnosis. I have no idea what that means. But they're trying to develop this skill. And they have a target condition, and there's obstacles. I keep forgetting how to do this one part of it. So the experiment is, let's try a mnemonic to help you remember that part of it. So that's an example. And, of course, the coach, but I said, you already have a mentorship program in place where you're pairing these junior docs with senior docs. I'm not sure what the value add is for Kata, so I asked them to try to articulate it, and this was the quote that they came up with. We have to destigmatize struggling. Productive struggle is part of deep learning. Medical students shouldn't feel shame. I'll repeat, medical students shouldn't feel shame when they struggle to learn a new medical skill. That was the part that I thought was quirky and weird and cool. It was they were using Kata as a kind of a support structure, a psychosocial support structure for residents, because these medical students are like the A+ students. They've never failed at anything in their life, and now they're struggling with a new skill. They're getting their hands dirty with medicine, and they're struggling, and it creates a stigma, it creates stress, it creates, in some cases, depression, burnout, and even worse. And so they're actually looking at it as that's the problem to be solved. So it's kind of this cultural thing. I thought that was pretty cool. And then the third example is Kata in lifestyle medicine. So a little level setting on terms. So traditional acute care medicine, you get sick, you come to the hospital, we tune you up, and we get you back home. Fortunately, over the years, we progressed beyond just basic acute care into preventative care and chronic conditions management. So now we're going upstream from the hospital out into the doctor's clinic, out into dealing with preventative care things. And so that was a good, nice progression upstream. And now lifestyle medicine is keep going further upstream beyond even the scope of medical practice, beyond where doctors need to live. And what we're talking about there is social determinants of care. So we're talking about access to healthy food, good daily activity. We're talking about how to organize your home so that you can, not miss a medication because you can't find where you put your pills or whatever. It could be very basic stuff. It doesn't necessarily need a doctor. So where I work at Kaiser Permanente, they're getting into some really cool aspects of lifestyle medicine. So here is it's kind of nice when you work a few minutes from Napa. You tend to have these off-site events at like wineries and stuff, which is kind of fun. The group that you see here is our health education group. And they're the folks that are responsible for what William mentioned earlier about motivational interviewing. They teach that method. They do direct with patients wellness coaching, new member orientation. They do a lot of cool stuff to kind of get upstream and to really start to try to develop the capability of our members, of our patient families, and indeed of the community. And so I wanted to take a stab at trying to see how the Kata overlay would fit within this world of lifestyle medicine. And so we took that same structure, but instead of for medical education, we said patient and family support structure. So in this case, imagine, and I showed a video last year at the Kata Summit of a physician, an OB/GYN doc, who was using Kata coaching a patient. It's similar to that, but we're going further upstream. So the learner could be the patient or whoever's advocating on behalf of the patient. The coach could be, it could be a wellness coach like the folks you saw in the prior picture, but ultimately that's a limiting rate factor a little bit. So I'm going to expand wellness coach to include not just the folks that work for the health ed department, but the community actually. So in other words, can we develop this capacity for coaching amongst a wide group of folks, kind of a grassroots effort at creating coaching capacity so that we can have more folks in our community, whether it's our church or our business or our home, that can help us strive and struggle and persevere. And so in that scenario, I was still wanting a little bit of, it felt a little too weird actually, like this is maybe getting a little bit beyond our boundaries of what Kata is. I like quirky and cool, but weird, maybe it's a little bit too far. So I actually asked the physician who is over our primary care and health education program on his thoughts, and he gave a very articulate answer. He said, 99% of activity needed to maintain wellness never involves a health system. Can we increase the striving capabilities and mental resilience of our patients, families, and communities so they can own their own health journey? And that, to me, it was a little weird when he first said 99%, because when you work in healthcare, you get in this little tunnel vision thing that all the healthcare is happening in the hospital or in the clinic or whatever. But if you just redefine it a little bit and you say it's not about healthcare, it's about health, it's about healthy years, or even further, it's about wellness and thriving, then you actually do realize that the health system is doing very little value add when all of our touch points are just when you come to the clinic or to the hospital. So if you just kind of start to think about this little weird redefinition of the value add in healthcare, and I think this is, that you don't have to work in healthcare to be thinking about this because it affects us all. We're all on this kind of journey in our own personal health. But you start to redefine it a little bit and you see what the possibilities are for things like Kata. It doesn't have to be Kata per se, but deliberate practice techniques, scientific thinking patterns, raising the capability, managing by means, not by just the results. I think that's kind of cool. And so my kind of parting sentiment is let's keep Kata weird, because we don't know where it's going to take us. We don't know yet. We don't know what it is fully yet. And not just Kata, but it's just this overlap between these disparate kind of topics: cognitive sciences with the UCLA psychology department, medical education, lifestyle medicine with the wellness coaching and whatnot. What's the kind of unifying links? They feel a little bit disjointed, but it's the brain, it's mindset, it's capability, people development, it's people. And I think that's pretty much a sweet spot for the Toyota Kata community. So let's keep Kata weird, y'all. Thank you.